Hey friends, you're gonna love this episode where we talk to Dustin about his favorite NFTs. We review Kaiju Kingz, Dead Army Skeleton Klub, the WizardsDAO, and Bjorn Calleja, including a rare look at his original artwork behind the NFT. We also dive into Dustin's project, BitBones. We talk about the joy of puzzling through pixel art and converting that into 3D voxels for the Sandbox. Follow me as I explore some of the world's most interesting NFTs and their collectors on this episode of NFT Show and Tell.
So I guess the easiest place to start, Dustin, is how did you get into NFTs? Give us a little bit of the background.
I've been doing art forever, drawing, painting, sculpting, welding, everything like that. And I had been doing a private chef job, catering and everything like that. So I kind of pushed all my art stuff aside. And I left the private chef job and I started just day trading stocks for a bit. And that's when I noticed an article about the People sale and kind of all the hype going around it. And I said, this is a great opportunity for me now that I have more time to kind of find another avenue to do my art again. And, you got so many collectors there all in one place and so many different types of art that it just seemed the perfect combination of everything coming together for me to jump back in and do some art again.
How do you feel about this being digital art versus, let's say, sculpting that you've done in the past?
It's definitely a different medium. I'm newer to it. I had started maybe like a year or two before I jumped into BitBones with tablet art and stuff like that. I was very traditional and kind of against it. Like, what do you mean? You can just tap and erase stuff? Like, if you make a mistake, it's supposed to be worked around and created into something new and different. That's kind of like what I used to think. But it's like I used to be into old school photography too and hating on digital photography. And it's like, but once you make that switch, it's like, what the hell was I doing the whole time, So I don't know. There's definitely a lot of positives. There's drawbacks to digital art that you can't do necessarily with like traditional art, but there's not much. So it's a different realm, but I love it.
When I think about art and enjoying art, in the past, it's been so much about that physical experience, being in front of a canvas or a sculpture, and it has some presence. How have you felt that evolve as you transition more to pixel art?
Well, you see prints and stuff all the time from digital artists too. So it's like you can also have that in front of yourself. You might not get the brushstrokes and the, texture of a real painting, but, like if you're in love with an artist and you get a print from them, it's just as amazing as having an actual painting, So, there's a little trade-off where it's like you kind of know that it's not the original piece, but then, that's kind of what NFTs are too. You sell them in editions. It's just like prints. You can buy a one of one. And, to me, it's like almost just as treasured as a one-on-one physical painting from one of my favorite artists.
All right, Dustin. So I'm excited to see your NFT collections, the ones you like the most, which you're most proud of. Let's kick one off. We've got Kaiju Mutants here. Tell me about this collection.
Big fan. So it all starts with Kaiju Kingz. There was the original. They have like the Genesis, and they produce, I think, 5 R-Waste tokens a day. And then from that, if you have 2 Kaiju King Genesis and 750 tokens, the R-Waste, you can make a baby Kaiju. So that's what all these are. They've been really pumping right now. They have a big game coming up, and I think 2 more projects that are launching coming soon. There's one called Redacted, which we don't know about, and the other one I think is the Scientist that they're going to be minting. So I love the art. I love the development team. The community's great. Try to find some of the Genesis guys. Boom.
So while this pulls up, tell me about the art. You're an artist. What do you love about this art here?
I think the style is just perfect. Like, it's a perfect design for what it is. Like, it's cute. It's unique. It's iconic almost. Well, it is iconic. And it just calls out to me. Like, the items are very unique. It's not really like mimicking another project. It's just a standalone, check me out, like me if you do, walk away if you don't. But I don't know, I'm just drawn to it. It's like the design of it is perfect. And so in me, it's just like you hit it, you nailed it. Like I love everything about it. And they went wild. They did like a secret mint, I think, and I didn't know about it, and I wish I did. And I saw it right after it had minted out, and it was already at like 3 ETH per kaiju, and I was like, I can't do that. Like this is wild.
Wow.
So like a couple months went by, I kept my eye on it, and I finally snagged one when they were dropping low. And I guess I caught the exact bottom because after that, everything just started going up again. So I've been holding my kaiju, and then they recently released these Kaiju Mutants, which is going to play into their game going forward. Genesis will create a different token called Scales. The babies will create, I think Genesis is 15, babies are 5, and then mutants are 2 scales per day that you'll create. And they have a whole like mechanism behind the project too, where you'll be able to use the scales for trying to pull mutant DNA out of these guys. I think it's a little complicated. They have a whole flow diagram and everything. It's really cool stuff though, but very excited for this project.
So it sounds like they're baking in utility into the project itself, where it almost sounds like you have to stake the NFT to some extent in order to get a reward mechanism or token. I think you call them scales. And then if you have a certain number of scales or tokens and you have a specific NFT or combinations of NFTs, then you can create an additional NFT that is these mutants. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I believe so. There's like an odds kind of thing to it too, like where you could pay, I forget what it is, like 350 scales up to like 1,000. And so if you're paying 350, the odds of it passing through and making it, like for you to get one, is like 20%, I think. And then the odds go all the way up to 70%. And so a lot will fail within that ecosystem. But I think what they're doing too is the failed experiments, when the scales are spent on that, they get sent to the scientist project. It's really complicated.
Wow.
But I think it's almost going to be like you can steal the scales from each other if you have the scientists. So they're integrating like all of their projects into one cohesive thing. So it's really interesting to see.
That's really cool. It reminds me a little bit of I think it's the Gutter Gang, where they've got multiple different projects that are coming together right now in I don't know what the ultimate vision for that is, but it sounds like in this case, it'll be a game. Is that right?
Yeah, it'll be a game. I think you're going to play with the mutants. I'm not 100%. There's still a lot to be announced. But yeah, it'll be a playable game with your NFT. And yeah, it's going to be dope.
That's pretty cool, man. So I like this art. I'm taken by how sharp it is, despite it being pixel art. What is this? Is this like 100 by 100 pixels? What are we looking at here?
I forget what it was. I think it's like 55, I think. I think
I mean, these are surprisingly sharp. I mean, it's definitely pixel art, but at the same time, they have a fair amount of detail here. They're really nice.
Yeah, like the base body really just only uses 2 or 3 colors, just like a brief highlight. But some of the items are a lot more detailed. Like these chains are impressive, and you don't see a lot of stuff like that. It's like very basic kind of pixel stuff most of the time, and not much shading to it. And you could tell like there was a lot of effort put into the art, which is I can appreciate that.
For sure. Do you know who the artist is? Are they doxed?
I don't know if they're doxed. I know they're in the Discord. I forget their name right now. I'm not sure if there's more than one now, just because the project's grown so much. I could be able to tell you later. I'm not 100%.
So when you first saw this project, it sounds like the aesthetics are really what pulled you into it, but maybe the utility is what's holding you in it now. You mentioned that you don't want to get rid of your kaiju. What's driving that? Why do you want to hold on to this particular set of NFTs?
I just feel like there's so much more going for it right now in the future that it would be a shame to sell too early. I have them listed, but I have them like twice what the floor is right now and just keeps going up. So like I had it listed for what the floor is now, but it was double what it was. And I was like, oh shit, it's getting too close. We got to cut it. Like I want to keep these, you know? So I have this like internal quarrel. It's like, you know, I love them, but I also want to make some money. But, you know, it's like, I don't feel like it's the right time for letting go of them just yet. And I can still appreciate the art, you know?
Yeah. I'm curious, how do you show off this art that you have? You know, in a traditional world, we obviously hang our prints or art on our walls. Where do you feel that you have the opportunity to show the world, you know, this is art that I appreciate and that I want to put out there?
Well, you know, like Twitter's, I think, the main avenue for a lot of people to share projects and art that they're interested in. And that gets, you know, the most exposure. My wife and I have gotten a lot of our NFTs or older NFTs like printed and put in frames so we can still, you know, appreciate the art even after, which is maybe taboo, but it's like, you know, it's a print. I'm not selling it. I'm just enjoying the art. But yeah, I mean, it's great too when you can have an NFT that can also be, you know, maybe converted into a painting, or if you bought a painting and you get the NFT, you know, for it, which that happened to me with one artist named Bjorn Calleja. And how cool is that, you know? Because I get the physical painting and I also get a one-on-one NFT to hang on to.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the community on this project. What's that like? What's the community feel like?
It's like a fraternity, you know, it's like they have a lot of fun and they'll just kind of banter with each other. And, you know, like when someone says good night, there'll be like 1,000 people just posting, you know, gifts and whatever. And it's just wild. So, you know, there's a lot of energy there and everybody else is excited. And it's just, you know, it's always a lively place because they just have a big community, like all the different projects and, you know, thousands of different holders. It's great for the project.
That's cool. I definitely vibe with that. I think that's one of the areas where really separates out some projects from the others, how active the community is. And many times when I first started doing NFTs, I was under the impression that the community was going to, you know, give me something. But really, I have learned that the community is this place where I could give something and watch how people react to whatever it is I'm offering.
Mhm.
And that's what gives me energy and excitement.
Yeah.
So like you just said, like, you know, someone puts, you know, good night or GN, and then you get this like explosion of reactions and people reacting to that and kind of riffing on it that I don't know, it just puts a smile on your face, right?
Yeah, you know, it's just a lot of fun. It's like kind of the outrageous, like, you know, you don't get in your normal day, you know, 9 to 5 or whatever. It's just like, it's like a party on the internet, you know?
Definitely. Cool, man. Well, what else are you proud of in your NFT collection? Show us some more stuff.
This one is called Dead Army Skeleton Klub. And, you know, they're like our dead homies. And so they're a 3D project, all skeletons, different items and such. And, you know, kind of pick which one calls out to you, the different rarities. They have a mobile game that you can have your, I don't think it's a game yet, but they were working on a game. And right now you can have on your phone, you can mess around with a 3D model of, I think you can do of your Dead Army Skeleton Klub, or if not, just the base model. And then there'll be avatars for that for the metaverse. And then you can stake them for club coin. And then just today, a couple hours ago, you were able to redeem the club coin for Dead Army Zombie Klub. So you'll get a tombstone. And then if you give it a serum, it'll turn into a zombie version of the Dead Army Skeleton Klub. So it's pretty cool. They got a lot going for them. And, you know, we're friends and skeletons support skeletons, you know? So all about
Yeah,
that.
tell me a little bit about that background. Like what's the story of BitBones and why skeletons? What's the genesis of that?
This kind of always been something I drew and just stuck with me. You know, it's a more intricate kind of drawing of a human than just drawing a human, you know, because each bone is intricate and it's just kind of, I was very detail oriented with drawing before, and I had like a super thin tip micron pen. And I, you know, I just be like in the paper, just doing like hatch lines all the time just to, you know, not take up time, but it's just, that's what I like to do with the art that I used to draw. So, you know, it's always been there, just designing different types of skeletons, doing like t-shirt designs I tried for a bit, but there was just like no audience there. And then I just one day, actually I have the design, I'll show you. So this was like kind of the guy I used to draw all the time, skeleton head. And then I was just messing around with different sketches, and I had been wanting to mess around with pixels for a long time. So I was like, well, this might be the perfect opportunity to turn something that you've hand drawn forever into like pixel art. And then, you know, I did several variations of that until I found something that I liked, and that's what BitBones turned out to be. So just took it from there, gave it a body, gave it a bunch of items, and generated a bunch of BitBones.
Nice. When you think of DASK, was DASK an inspiration for BitBones, or did you just happen to find that separately and independently?
No, they're more recent. It's funny, like when I launched BitBones, there weren't like any skeleton projects at all. I didn't realize that, I forget what they're called. There's a Pixel Skull one that's like from 2018, Crypto Skulls. I had never seen them. And then I was like, am I the first guy to make like pixel or any kind of skeleton NFT? And like I thought that for a long time until I found Crypto Skulls. But then after I launched, it was like boom, skeleton, boom, skeleton, boom, skeleton. I was like, Jesus Christ, like we're surrounded now. So it's pretty cool, you know, seeing different variations of it, because it's like, it's not an uncommon thing, you know, everybody draws skeletons, but it's just something that wasn't there before. It was just like, you know, cute pets and pixel whatevers. And, you know, it's like, boom, throw BitBones out there and it's like, they're everywhere now.
So one of the, I think, really interesting parts about crypto Web3 NFTs is people talk about how things are composable. And in the NFT world, there is this feeling that not only are things composable, but there's definitely a sense of building on top of each other's projects and ideas, right? And I think a pessimistic view of this is that there's a lot of derivative works going on. But a maybe optimistic view of this is that there's a lot of innovation and iteration happening, right? Even if someone has a skeleton project, they end up bringing their own little twist to it in some meaningful way, in some different way, hopefully, right? And in that process, we all together can find new meaning in that, can find new appreciation in what they're offering. Have you seen that in the artwork and the NFTs that you collect?
Yeah, I mean, just speaking about skeletons, for example, it's like what you just said covers everything. You know, it's like there were plenty of like what I think were copycats and just like kind of like, did you even think outside the box, you know? But then there's plenty that I'm like, that's fucking dope, you know? And it's like, you know, it's like I'm not claiming skeletons at all, but it's just like when things are a little too close for comfort, it's like, I don't know, man, like, you know, but I don't know, like personally, I'm not a fan of things that are too close to like other projects, because it's like I don't know, my thought is that like I'm here for the art, and it's like I want to do my art as best I can. And it's like if I'm copying somebody else, like their style, then it's like I'm not true to myself and my art. So what's the point of that? You know, it's like then it's just a business and you're just trying to get money from people. Whereas like I take joy in making this art, and I take joy when people appreciate the art. So it's like, that's a benefit too. So I don't know.
That's a great point.
But there's pluses and minuses to it too. It's like, you know, like you've seen, there's millions of CryptoPunk knockoffs, but it's like, in a sense, those knockoffs have given that original project so much more notoriety because it's exposed, you know, that original project to a lot more people than just the first 10,000 would have. So there's a positive, but I don't know. If you do it in a unique enough way and you could make it your own, like more power to you, you know? It's like, it's not my cup of tea, but I can't say anything bad about it.
Yeah. Well, coming back to the DASK 3D skeletons, that obviously is, it's skeleton related. Would you consider that to be sufficiently different from what you're thinking about, what you're creating as an artist, that you feel like when you saw it, you thought, that's really cool, I want to be a part of that and support it?
Totally. Yeah. And it's like I'm not always thinking like, oh my God, like, you know, every skeleton project, whatever, you know, it's like, you know, this is like 100% unique. And it's like they have a great plan and roadmap and their community's bumping too. And it's like, you know, I'm just happy to be part of it and, you know, enjoying it with everybody else.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, keep showing us what else, what other NFTs are you really excited about?
We got the WizardsDAO, brother.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is another one, you know, obviously you know everything about it, but this is another one that I've been watching forever. And, you know, I love the art. It's just like, it's simple, but also iconic, you know, and I love wizards. I got BitBone wizards all up in the collection. And, you know, I've always seen them and I always wanted to be part of it. And then I think two or 3 weeks ago, I finally jumped in and snagged my naked wizard. And yeah, now I'm
So
part of it.
when you join the WizardsDAO, obviously it's not just owning the NFT, it's also being part of the DAO and the community. What are you finding as you participate in the Discord? I mean, what are you getting out of it today?
I mean, just like I've offered help with Sandbox, and it's like, you know, it's very open, and you know, everybody is definitely down to help, and that's such a great thing. You know, it's like in my own Discord, I'm like, I try to include the community as much as possible with you know, what we build next or what we want to do with, you know, X problem or whatever. And it's always great to see that too in like another project where the devs are open enough to you know, give that freedom to the collectors, which is great to see.
So that's an interesting counterpoint, right? There are NFT projects where they're not necessarily a DAO that are trying to accomplish a particular goal. It is just the art, and here's a limited collection, buy them, collect them, hold on to them, etc. In those kinds of projects, I think BitBones is one of those types. What do you feel is different about that Discord community? How do people participate, perhaps, that's different from more of a DAO focused NFT project?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I haven't been in many DAO focused projects, so I don't have that much background to speak about it. I would say, at least with BitBones, like we have a good group of passionate people who, you know, are there for the art and the ride through like the different projects that we're making. And they're very supportive of, you know, myself and the project, which is great. And we have just a good clique of people who are, you know, in the skeleton army, ready to take on anybody. So it's like a family of BitBones there. And, you know, I feel like with you guys too, you have a solid core group of people who are, you know, there to help the project grow and take it to whatever levels that you guys decide on, or we decide on. I'm a wizard too now.
Yeah, I love that. I love that we mentality. That's excellent. Cool.
Oh,
What else are you
here?
holding?
Funguys. So my friend Tuschay, he's a big celebrity now in the Sandbox. He just had one of his games in the alpha season 2, where they have kind of a big block in the center of the Sandbox map. I don't know if you're familiar with the Sandbox, or have you played it all?
Yes.
Cool. You know what's up. So there's a big block in the middle, and there's, I think, like 20 or so different games that you can play for free right now, and you'll earn tickets. And then they do a drawing for alpha passes, which will get you, I think, 1K sand and some NFTs. But anyways, it was really cool. You know, I've been chatting with Tuschay for a long time. He's helped me out a lot with Sandbox questions and whatnot. And I picked up some of his Funguy family. And these guys are going to be in the Sandbox with voxel avatars. He's got a really cool plot, giant mushrooms growing out the ground. And they're like tallest skyscrapers. And he's just got a good head on his shoulders. And I think this project will do great with the integration with the Sandbox and the community that he has too.
So oftentimes I find that collectors are having to struggle between holding on to the NFT because they have grown emotionally attached to it versus the potential for that particular NFT to make them money. And I think we had a little bit of that discussion earlier, right, with one of your kaiju. Right. And here, where the NFT is going to be a voxel representation in the Sandbox that definitely has utility, do you feel that anxiety of not wanting to sell it more?
Yeah, I mean, you can always, like, if you were just in it to trade, you could price in the future value of, an event like that. And, you could list it. And then once the event comes, you can anticipate the price a little bit. But these are not something that I would sell. It's like, I'd probably hold them. Like I think if you have two, you can breed them and he'll draw a baby version from you. So I'm kind of like an old school manual kind of dev guy. And it's like, I've done a lot of like airdrops by hand, and he's the same way. So it's like, we're kind of like the OG raw talent, and it's not relying on coding and devs to do it, but it's like, we're putting in the work and putting in the time. So it's like the blood, sweat, and tears projects,
That's really cool. So manually seeing what two items someone submitted, and he is then using is Spark to say, oh, if I were to cross these, this is the hand-drawn new thing I would produce, and then manually airdropping that to the holder. It feels pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, it's super cool. He's a great guy too, and it's great to see his stuff blowing up. So I'm a fun guy.
I love it. I love it. And you were telling me about one more that you have the NFT, and then you also got the physical art. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that.
So I have been following Bjorn Calleja on Hicketnunk, I think from his like earlier days, and he does all sorts of really cool animations. Like they're all from paintings, like big paintings, and he'll draw these little guys. Like here you can see, but they'll be all over the painting, and then he'll go in and take a picture of each part and then turn it into one of these animations, which is just, I've never seen that done before, and I thought it was amazing. And I'm a big fan of his animations here like this. They're all paintings as well, and I can show you. I have some of the originals. So I'll show you this one, and then I'll show you the 101.
Wow, his art is very haunting. I like it. It definitely draws an emotional response.
So they're all done on little pieces of canvas. So each one's a painting, and I'm looking to have these framed like on a long frame. Pretty cool. I have two. So I have bought them.
Incredible.
Yeah, really cool stuff.
So he hand painted each of these small canvas squares and then essentially scanned them in or somehow digitally reproduced them into an animation?
Yeah, I think he took pictures or scanned them, and then that's what the animation is. So it's like got the OG frames.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I had to have him. I was like, I was just mesmerized by his artwork and had to get at least a few of his physical things. And then what we're talking about, the other one is this one. I had bought the physical painting from a gallery. He's from the Philippines. So I had to track down wherever I could to buy his art, because he's like, I'm not going to ship it to the US at the time. And so I was like, fuck, like I need a painting. And then I had bought it, and they shipped it over. Get that glare off.
Wow, no, I can see it. I like the scale of it too.
Yeah, pretty big. But I really love the eyes, the style of it all. And there's little dudes as the mouth, little bodies.
Yeah.
But it's super cool. And so after I bought it, he had ended up sending me a 101 Tezos NFT.
Wow, that's really cool. Now, he ended up sending you the NFT after you acquired the painting. Did you
Yeah.
know that was going to happen?
No, I didn't. And I was super stoked. I think it just appeared in my wallet one day. And I was like, "Wow, this is super cool." Like, I'm so stoked that I can have the physical and the NFT, you know?
That's really cool. I haven't heard of that happening where someone is, out there as an artist in the physical world and they're rewarding their buyers and community supporters with an NFT reproduction that's one of one. I feel like that should happen more. That's really special.
Yeah. I mean, you can't, replace that kind of thing. It's like, it's perfect. I know people do it backwards too, where it's like if you buy the NFT, you can claim the physical.
Right.
But it's weird. It's like, I love physical art and I love NFTs. So it's like, that's the greatest combo for me, but it's like, I don't know why people like would hate on, or why they do hate on that. And it's like, can't you appreciate both? It's like, if you want it, cool. Like, I think, what's his name? Damien Hirst. Okay, there you go. So he's like one of the highest selling living artists of all time. And he had released edition of, I think, 10,000. And they're like, I think this big. And it's like a white background with a bunch of different colored spots on it. And so what happened was you would buy the NFT, and then after a certain amount of time, you would either be able to claim the physical piece, because they were all physical pieces, or just keep the NFT. So it was kind of leaving it up to the community to decide, how many should we physically burn and how many NFTs should we burn if they claim the physical, which was kind of interesting. And I'm not
really
sure how many actually got collected, physical pieces or not. I want to look into that later. But I thought that was pretty deep.
That's pretty interesting. Kind of bridging those two sort of digital and physical worlds. Burning an NFT, I think, is a common parlance that we hear a lot, but it's interesting to think that they would burn the physical item too, just destroy it so that there is a truly a limited number out there.
Yeah, I think it's great because it plays upon like both worlds, the NFT world and the physical art world. Like, anybody would hate to see a physical art piece made by, a well-known artist like that being literally burnt. So it's like, I don't know, it's up to the collector.
Feels dramatic.
Yeah.
Right? Poetic, dramatic. It feels intense. I can imagine a strong emotional reaction to it.
Yeah, it's like back in the day, I thought about an idea of if you had, a gallery showing and you had like 30 pieces in there, and it's like every 10 minutes, like maybe an hour or two into the gallery, you just start burning them, like literally. And it's like kind of like the anxiety. It's like, well, if you like the art, better hurry up, or else they're all going to get burnt. And if, even if nobody bought it, it'd be good publicity just for the art. Might set the place on fire, but
No, I like that. I like that idea, and I almost I wonder if someone has replicated that in the NFT world. Have you seen or heard of these decomposing NFTs where they age over time, and then I don't know what happens when they finally reach termination age, but I wonder if there is almost like a Mission Impossible, this message will self-destruct in 5 seconds type of project out there that forces people to appreciate the art for a specific amount of time, after which time it's gone. So like in this world of fleeting attention where we expect everything to be on chain forever, we expect everything to be digital and I could always look at it later. There's something interesting and powerful about saying, nope, this is only going to be alive and viewable for this amount of time. So you better come and see it.
I like it.
Food for thought. Well, tell us about BitBones, man. This is your baby. I wanna see some of the bones and hear about the project.
Yeah. So these are BitBones. I started them a year ago. Let's try to show you the base tray. I'll just go oldest. Boo, boo, boo. So I had mentioned earlier, I was messing around with pixels and turning one of my old designs into like pixel art and going with my long time love of skeletons. Where is it? Boom.
So walk me through that process. You obviously love to bust out your very narrow point micron pen and kind of draw skeletons, right? That's been like a passion of yours for a long time. And then one day you said, you know what, I want to play with pixel art. And you started from, I kind of imagined Dustin with a pad in front of him, a skeleton that he has drawn in the past, and then trying to recreate that as a pixel art. Is that kind of how it started?
Yeah, like here, I'll show you. This was the first crappy design of a BitBone ever. And it was kind of like my first take with like pixel work. So it's like we went from the physical piece that I showed you earlier, the skull, to like something like this. But then like for me, I love puzzles too. And I feel like pixels are kind of a puzzle in their own way because they're very limiting. And, you know, like you have to find the space to make it work. And it's like I'm kind of particular about what they look like. So it was kind of a puzzle in its own way to make them and make it all work and, you know, find that home for the pixels, if you will. Like, so that was fun and a challenge in itself. But like, you know, I went through maybe 3 versions of what it was and then came to what these guys look like in the beginning of the project, and then started adding all the items and whatnot through the total 1000. So
I love that story. I'm kind of wondering if you're, you know, I'm naive to the pixel art world. I don't draw in pixels, but I kind of imagine that if I had to do this, gun to my head, I would probably draw a skeleton on a piece of paper, then take a picture of it, then copy paste that into like Photoshop or whatever my, art program of choice is. And then I would try to almost draw the pixels on top of it to effectively digitally trace, if that's a thing. That's kind of how I would approach it. Is that how you do it? Or do you just go blank canvas and you just start filling in, pixels?
yeah, no, blank canvas. Just everything was hand done in the collection, like no like digitizing of backgrounds or items or whatever. But
wow.
Yeah, so everything was done. I think just drew a circle, drew a jaw, and then worked off of there and started cutting away pixels and adding them where I needed to. And, I added shading to it and the rib. I think I did the head and then the ribs and then the arms and then tweaked them a little bit. And I was like, that's it. I got it. So that's how we got the bones.
That's cool, man. And I really liked seeing the evolution of the bones from that first version you showed us with that OG chain to what we see here. I mean, you could tell that there is that evolution happening and improvement along the way. That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Like to me, it's like a record of a personal growth with the pixel art too, because it's like, maybe in the beginning I wasn't as certain with myself, like what I could do, but it's like the more I went, I think it was more rigid too in the beginning for me. It's like I have to do it like this way, but then I kind of started freeing up with it and kind of being more, well, we don't have to keep it here. We can move this here. We can do this, and just have more fun with it. And then we got a bunch of rares. I'll show you. I'll see if I can do it from oldest. Yeah, so you can kind of see like where we went. It was like kind of just, they're fun, they're cool, but then I started getting a little crazier with it. We got Skull Underground with worms, the long tongue, wanted posters, Dream Stealer. I just thought of fun when I did a tank. It's like that's not a BitBone, but I was like, we got to do a tank, man. So just had a lot of fun with it.
Wow, that's really cool. So then you went from BitBones and you transition over to your new project, I think is Nemesis, where you are bringing an element of functionality, utility, right? As I understand it, if you burn your Nemesis NFT, that turns into a voxel representation of the underlying bones of that, this kind of human Nemesis that we have here.
Yeah, so I'd always wanted to have kind of a warring faction between like humans and BitBones, because it's like, what's the point of being a BitBone if you can't fight people, So I had come up with a basic storyline maybe like 6 months ago where, the BitBones were just skeletons, dead skeletons, and we had the BitBone sorcerer conjure them up to take revenge for him and fight the humans. So we're going to bring that story back in a bigger way in the sandbox. I have a big 3x3 plot estate, which is pretty massive, and I have a big game on there already. But what we're planning on doing is having like a battle section where the humans can fight the BitBones, and have community galleries to try to, promote more people's artwork from within the community and make that a cool place to be. And, just have like exclusive lands that holders can go to if they have a VX. And yeah, the work's coming along great with that stuff right now. It's looking incredible. So I'm excited.
Well, I mean, if you're open to it, we'd love to see a sneak peek of some of your 3D voxel bones.
So this is the base BitBone. I'm so used to my PC now, it's ridiculous. This mouse is so sensitive. So we got him in 3D mode, and then you'll be able to run around. He'll have helmets and weapons and shields and whatnot. And let's see if we can get a little walk. So this could be the person you play as, or that you're fighting if you're human.
Yep.
And it's gonna be epic. We've had recently, I think it was the samurai helmet, the trident, the skull, chest armor, and it's looking great. So I'm excited for this to happen. It should be 2 or so months from now that should be released to implement the burn mechanism. Yeah, it's a ton of items because I'm doing Nemesis as a avatar too, and then I got to make all those items. But yeah, I had 2 more people to help me out with the voxel stuff, so we're really getting a head start on it, and it's exciting seeing what they're
doing. Well, I mean, at this point, what do you like drawing more? Do you prefer that 2D pixel art, or do you prefer the voxel 3D art?
I'd say they're close. It's more fun to be building in 3D because you get to imagine more of the character compared to just the 2D, because it's like you never have to think about what the back looks like of these things and these people or skeletons. But it's like once I first designed the BitBone VX avatar, you have to really think about like, okay, it's kind of a 3/4 view when you're doing pixels, but this is you got to do 360. So figuring out the right placement of everything is key. And it's unfortunate because the sandbox avatars are not like a 1-to-1 ratio with the size from pixel to voxel. So you have to make trade-offs and kind of just go with a semi-caricature of what it is instead of like exact. So to me, I think I did a great job of making it look as close to a BitBone as I could possibly do. But I think it's a lot of fun. It's like a bigger brain puzzle because it's like you got to move everything in the 3D space and make it all fit and make it work and look legit. So it's a better challenge for me with the voxels, I think now, but I still love pixels.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking when you were describing it. I was imagining, if you like the puzzle aspect of making something look a certain way with a limited set of, let's say, 50 pixels by 50 pixels, then in the voxel world, that challenge gets elevated, right? Because not only are you incorporating 3 dimensions, you're also are limited perhaps in the sort of volume of pixels that you could use to represent something. So that puzzle just gets harder. One last question for you, and we can sign off. At what point do you feel that pixel art stops becoming pixel art, right? 50 by 50, okay. 100 by 100, maybe still pixel art. But at some point, you get to 2000 by 2000, and that's just digital art, right? So like, where do you draw the line, if anywhere, to say this is pixel art and this is where I want to limit myself, to give myself that constraint that causes that puzzle feeling?
I wouldn't say there's a limit. Like, I think it's somewhat easier on a bigger canvas, but it's still, you're using pixels as your medium. And it's like, when you really think about it, you take any, digital picture you've ever seen, you zoom in enough and they're all made of pixels. So it's like, everything's pixel art in digital world, So it's like, I don't know, if it's hand done, I mean, even if it's not hand done, it's still pixel art to me. I think it's more fun working on a bigger canvas, like when you're after being constrained for so long, because you're more free. Like it does take a lot more time to fill in the spaces and be detailed with it, but it is kind of freeing to just be like, it's like being stuck in a small room and then walking into the next room and it's a big room. And it's like, oh, well, I could do all this stuff now, And it's pretty cool. I wouldn't say there's a limit in my mind to like what pixel art, what you could label it as. So I don't know.
Very cool.
I would say no limit.
Well, Dustin, this has been just a real pleasure, a lot of fun learning about, the NFTs that you like to collect. If I could recap the sentiment I picked up from you today is that you really go for that aesthetic look, right? You almost find NFTs that just really jump out to you and your aesthetics, and that's your primary filter or choosing mechanism. I love to hear that because it makes me feel that you really are in it for the art and you're building emotional connections to these different art pieces. And I think that came across a lot today. I was very impressed with the BitBones collection and the work that you're putting in here. I love seeing the evolution of the first BitBone to where it is today, and then where it's going to in the next 2 months with these voxel representations. So thank you so much for the time. I'll turn it over to you. Any closing thoughts for our viewers?
No, I mean, not really. I think we covered a lot of stuff and it was a really great conversation.
Right on. Cool. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. And everyone, stay tuned for the next episode of NFT Show and Tell. This was a great one with BitBones, Dustin, and let's all send him a lot of love and support as he puts out the BitBones into the 3D world that is Sandbox. And hopefully we'll all be jamming and partying at his Tombstone mansion, right? Over in his 3x3 plot. Whenever that's ready, Dustin, do tell us so that we can all meet you there, man.
100%. Yeah, there's gonna be games, galleries, everything. So it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Okay, that's all we have for today's show. Don't miss out on the next episode of NFT Show and Tell. Subscribe to get notified when the next episode drops.